Hi, I'm Imani, and I became a disciple in Johannesburg, South Africa. I moved to South Africa with my husband before the democratic elections. And when we went to South Africa, we had our own expectations and plans. But a few years after that, my oldest daughter was met by some disciples. And if I like to give a shout out to Patty O'Brien Richardson, because you were there and you know the story. So through them, I was invited to church. At church, like many of us, I was very much impressed by the genuine love that came from the disciples, but I was awestruck by the challenge that I needed to have a personal walk with God and be responsible for it, which meant that I had to live and study my Bible every day. So with that, I decided to study the scriptures, and shortly afterwards, I became a disciple. It was an awesome time. Things were not only changing in the country, but we saw so much of what the church was bringing to South Africa. The Tollivers were still there. Then they were followed by Nietzsche and Daisy. So we just had great, awesome times in learning what it meant to be truly the Church of Christ. My personal challenges began almost immediately because now I was a disciple and my husband was not. So I had to learn earnestly, and it was a challenge sometimes. I learned what it meant to be righteously submittal and versus cultural submission. My parenting skills grew as I walked with God and had disciples around me encouraging me and giving me great advice. And I learned to give, and I was always a giving person, but to give with a godly motivation, and those made immediate impact and changes in my life. Well, when I think about special contribution and its impact, there's really two phrases that come to my mind: praise God and wow. Because that's how come I am here. Special contribution meant that I needed to make a special commitment to God, to give above the minimum. It meant that I needed to strive and look at everything He's blessed me with and say, how am I going to return that? So I learned that in South Africa, and I'm learning to live that out in New York as I try to give out and be consistent in that. And I think that's, for me, how special contributions become important. Because over the years, I've given big, I've given not so big, depending on my means at any point in time. But what's been important to me is to be consistent. So every year, I make sure I give special contributions, and I give the most that my heart and my means would allow me to do. So that's why special contribution is so important to me, because I consider myself a fruit of special contribution. I like to think in terms of special contribution that I plan well, but you know, we don't always plan as well as we should. So I try to put away money on a monthly basis for special contributions. But when that day is coming close and I see I'm really not at my target, I just bite the bullet. Because again, I'm saying I'm living out God's plan. And I've always seen that when I adhere to God's plan, that's when the best works out for me. That's when I have the best experience. And that's when the work of the church just really grows. So if you're struggling right now, just look at that budget. There's always a few extra dollars you can put away for special. Look at your heart and say, why am I doing this? How will it impact the mission field? How will it allow us to train up new leaders all over the world? So with that in mind, think about, okay, I can go without that bagel for a few weeks. We've known of people who said they had tuna fish sandwiches for weeks. So what is your sacrifice so that you can do your special contribution and make it the best that you can do?
Come on.